What if everything you've been taught about the world is just noise, an elaborate illusion hiding a single, undeniable truth that everything is energy? Not metaphorically, not poetically, literally, everything you see, touch, think, and feel is a vibration. Beneath the surface of matter lies movement. Beneath the solidity of your body lies frequency. And behind every moment of your life, an invisible force is at play, guiding you, shaping you, reacting to you. A force you've been using unconsciously since the day you were born. And yet, most people never realize it, because we're not taught to see the world this way. We're taught to believe in objects, in matter, in separation. We're told the world is a machine, cold and indifferent, made up of dead particles randomly bouncing through space. But this worldview, the one most people carry around without questioning, is outdated, and more importantly, it's disempowering. Modern science has quietly dismantled the old model. Einstein showed that matter and energy are two sides of the same coin. His famous equation, E equals mc, doesn't just apply to bombs or stars. It applies to you. Your body is energy. Your thoughts are energy. Your emotions, your actions, your relationships, all vibrational exchanges in an interconnected field. In the early 20th century, a simple but bizarre experiment changed physics forever. The double-slit experiment revealed that light, and therefore all matter, behaves like a wave until it is observed. Observation collapses possibility into reality. Consciousness alters outcomes. In other words, reality is not fixed. It's fluid, responsive, alive. And this realization isn't new. Long before particle accelerators and quantum equations, ancient civilizations intuited the same truth. The sages of India spoke of prana, the breath of life permeating all things. Taoist monks spoke of ki, the flowing energy that connects heaven and earth. Egyptian mystics, Native American shamans, Greek philosophers, they all told us in different ways. The universe is vibration, and we are not separate from it. So why was this knowledge forgotten? Why did we stop teaching it? Why did science and spirituality, once two sides of the same truth, become enemies? Because if energy is the essence of reality, and if thought, intention, and emotion can shape that energy, then each human being possesses immense power. The power to influence their body, their mind, their future. The power to break free from systems that depend on ignorance and passivity. The power to create. And power like that is dangerous. Not for you, but for those who seek to control you. This film is not a motivational speech. It's not a mystical fantasy or spiritual commercial. This is a call to awareness. Because until you understand how energy operates and how it's being manipulated, you'll remain a pawn in someone else's game. You don't need to believe anything. Just question what you think you know. Because if everything is energy, and it is, then the game of life changes completely. You're not just reacting to the world, you're interacting with it. You're not just surviving, you're transmitting. Every thought is a signal. Every emotion, a frequency. Every decision, a vibration that echoes through time. This is not a theory, it's physics. It's ancient wisdom, and it's the key to everything. So ask yourself, if everything is energy, then who controls yours? Because if you don't learn to master energy, you'll forever be mastered by it. And that, is how the real game begins. Long before the atom was split, before the microscope revealed the invisible, before equations could measure energy, there were whispers. Whispers from temples, caves, scrolls, and stars. Whispers that spoke of a hidden force moving through all things, across continents and millennia. Civilizations separated by oceans came to the same startling realization: reality is not built from stone, wood, or even flesh, but from energy. In ancient India, this energy was called prana, the vital life force that animates not only the body, but the cosmos itself. The Upanishads, Sacred Hindu texts from over 2,500 years ago declared that the breath was more than oxygen. It was consciousness in motion. They taught that mastering prana meant mastering the mind, body, and destiny. In China, Taoist sages mapped this force as qi, not just as an idea, but as a living current, flowing through invisible meridians in the body, connecting heaven and earth, yin and yang. Qi was the foundation of martial arts, medicine, even architecture. Everything, from the way you walk to the layout of a city, affected your energetic harmony. The Egyptians spoke of the Ka and the Ba, twin aspects of the soul, charged by a divine life force. Their temples were built not just as places of worship, but as machines of resonance. Geometry, symbols, and sound were used to tune the human energy field. These weren't primitive superstitions. They were blueprints, subtle sciences encoded in stone. In Greece, philosophers like Heraclitus declared, all is flux. He described logos, a cosmic order, a rational energy pervading the universe, linking thought and matter, soul and structure. The Stoics would later embrace this idea, believing that a divine spark existed within all of us, aligning the human mind with the rhythm of nature. In the Americas, native tribes honored the Great Spirit, not as a distant god, but as an animating force present in every tree, animal, river, and wind. Shamans learned to tune themselves into this field, entering altered states, not for entertainment, but for insight, for healing, for transformation. Again and again, in the ruins of the Maya, the chants of the Vedas, the glyphs of the Dogon, the pyramids of the Nile, we find this recurring message. The universe is energy, and that energy is intelligent, responsive, and deeply intertwined with human consciousness. But here's the strange part. Despite the universal nature of this knowledge, it was never made public. It was protected, hidden, coded, passed down in secret. The Hermetic schools in Egypt, the mystery schools of Greece, the secret yoga lineages in India, the oral transmissions of tribal elders, all preserved this energetic wisdom not through books, but through guarded teachings. Why? Because energy, once understood, is power. And in every era, power fears competition. If ordinary people realized that their emotions, thoughts, and intentions could shape reality, not metaphorically, but literally, the foundations of control would crumble. The priest would no longer be needed. The king would lose his authority. The general, the banker, the emperor, all would be dethroned by a truth that required no permission to access. So the knowledge was buried, relabeled as myth, repackaged as superstition, replaced with institutions that told people what to believe instead of teaching them how to perceive. Systems rose up to sever the connection between the self and the field. Education became memorization. Religion became obedience. Medicine became mechanics. And slowly, the idea that everything is energy was pushed to the fringe. A forgotten echo in the age of industry and steel. But echoes don't die. They linger in the symbols we don't understand, in the architecture we can't replicate, in the wisdom we dismiss as myth. They surface when intuition strikes, when healing happens without logic, when two people say the same word at the same time. They whisper when a room feels heavy, or when a stranger's presence changes your mood. Without a word, you felt it, you know it, and the ancients knew it too. So ask yourself, what was so dangerous about this truth that it had to be hidden? And more importantly, why is it starting to resurface now? Perhaps because the age of forgetting is ending. Perhaps because once you understand how to control your energy, no system can control you. The ancients didn't leave behind energy manuals. They left puzzles, metaphors, rituals, and codes, knowing that one day, someone would decode them not with intellect, but with resonance, not with belief, but with experience. Because this truth was never meant to be taught, it was meant to be remembered. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. For centuries, The energetic view of reality was dismissed as mysticism, too poetic for science, too spiritual for reason. But something unexpected happened in the 20th century. Science, in its relentless pursuit of certainty, cracked open the atom and found uncertainty waiting inside. When physicists began to peer into the subatomic world, the solid, mechanical universe we thought we lived in began to dissolve. Particles weren't particles, they behaved like waves. Matter wasn't matter, it flickered in and out of existence. And reality, it was no longer fixed, it was responsive, malleable, alive. The most famous experiment in quantum mechanics, the double-slit experiment, revealed something deeply unsettling. When light is fired through two slits, it behaves like a wave, creating interference patterns. But when the same light is observed, when someone watches, it collapses into a particle. The act of observation changes the outcome. Consciousness alters matter. This wasn't a fringe theory. This was experimental data, repeated again and again. It shook the foundations of physics. If light, and by extension, all matter, behaves differently when observed, what does that say about the role of the mind in shaping the physical world? Wave-particle duality, quantum entanglement, the observer effect. These weren't just abstract ideas, they were scientific confirmations of what ancient mystics had been whispering for millennia, that energy and consciousness are deeply intertwined. In 1935, Einstein, Podolsky, and Rosen proposed a thought experiment to challenge the implications of quantum theory. They suggested that if quantum mechanics were true, then particles could become entangled, meaning, once linked, the state of one particle would instantly affect the other, no matter the distance. Decades later, this was proven. Entangled particles communicate faster than the speed of light. Cause and effect, time and space, the pillars of Newtonian physics, were shattered, and still, we carried on with our mechanical worldview, pretending that nothing had changed, but the cracks were spreading. Outside the sterile halls of physics, a quiet revolution was brewing. Cymatics, the study of visible sound and vibration, showed that sound could organize matter. When sand or water is exposed to specific frequencies, it forms geometric patterns, complex, symmetrical, and beautiful. Frequency creates form, vibration shapes reality. Masaru Emoto's controversial experiments with water added a human element. He exposed water to words, music, and emotions, then froze and photographed the crystals that formed. Water exposed to words like love and gratitude produced intricate, symmetrical patterns. Water exposed to hate or fear formed chaotic, fragmented structures. Critics called it pseudoscience, but the implications were staggering. If water responds to emotion, and the human body is over 70% water, then what effect do our thoughts have on us and on each other? The HeartMath Institute took it further. They found that the human heart emits an electromagnetic field measurable several feet outside the body, that this field changes with emotional states, that coherent emotional patterns like love and appreciation produce a measurable effect on brain function, heart rhythms, and even the nervous system of those nearby. In other words, emotions are not just feelings, they're frequencies. Thoughts are not just mental chatter, they're electromagnetic broadcasts. The human being is not just a body, it's a transmitter and receiver of energy, and what we emit, we influence. Brainwave studies reveal that the mind operates at different frequencies: beta when alert, alpha when calm, theta when dreaming, and delta when in deep sleep. These frequencies aren't random, they can be measured, altered, and even synchronized with external stimuli like sound and light. Binaural beats, neural feedback, and brain entrainment technologies all tap into this principle. Even mainstream psychology is beginning to acknowledge what mystics have always known, that trauma, belief, and thought patterns are stored in the body as energetic imprints. Techniques like EMDR, somatic experiencing, and energy psychology treats psychological wounds, not just through talking, but through regulating the body's energetic field. So, where does this leave us? It leaves us with a truth too powerful to ignore. Science didn't disprove ancient wisdom, it confirmed it. The difference is only in language. What the yogi called prana, the physicist calls quanta. What the Taoist described as qi, the biologist now measures as bioelectricity. What the mystic felt as vibration, the lab now detects as frequency. But the essence is the same. Everything is energy. The table in front of you, a dance of atoms vibrating at a slower rate. The thought you're having right now, a burst of electrical impulses shifting neural patterns. The emotion in your chest, a frequency that radiates far beyond your skin. We are fields of energy, immersed in fields of energy, shaping and being shaped by every interaction. And yet, we still act like reality is made of bricks. We still raise children to memorize facts, not feel frequencies. We still treat the body as a machine, ignoring the current that animates it. We still laugh at the idea that thoughts can create, even as physics tells us they already do. But the world is catching up. Every year, new studies confirm what was once denied. Every day, people are awakening to the fact that they are not powerless spectators in a dead universe. They are energetic architects in a responsive one. The question is no longer whether energy shapes reality. The question is, what energy are you broadcasting into it? Because your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, they're not invisible. They're instructions, and reality is always listening. If everything is energy, then control is no longer about chains and cages. It's about frequency. Power in the modern world doesn't need to break your bones. It just needs to lower your vibration. Because low-frequency humans are easier to manage. They don't question. They don't imagine. They don't revolt. They obey. Governments, corporations, media, and even educational systems have mastered the art of frequency control, not by teaching you to understand your energy, but by ensuring you forget you even have any. This manipulation isn't new. It's been evolving for over a century. In the 1930s, Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister, proved that fear could be weaponized with surgical precision. His speeches weren't just words, they were emotional frequencies. He used repetition, symbols, and emotional triggers to make people feel powerless, enraged, and in need of authority. Millions followed, not because they understood the ideology, but because their energy had been hijacked. After World War II, governments wanted more than propaganda. They wanted to access the human mind itself. Enter MKUltra, a covert CIA program aimed at controlling behavior through drugs, trauma, and psychological manipulation. The goal was simple: break the energetic pattern of a person and rewire it. Strip away autonomy. Replace it with obedience. You were never meant to hear about MKUltra, but fragments leaked. Testimonies emerged. And though it was officially shut down, its principles never disappeared. They simply went digital. Today, psychological warfare doesn't require interrogation rooms or secret labs. It's on your screen. Every scroll, every click, every ad, every headline designed to manipulate attention, hijack emotion, and trap you in an invisible web of energetic influence. Because attention is energy. When you focus on something, you feed it, you empower it. And the architects of this system know that. They don't want your mind, they want your focus. Because what you focus on determines what you feel, and what you feel determines your frequency. This is the architecture of the energy matrix. The news cycle operates like an emotional metronome. Crisis, outrage, despair, repeat. You wake up, check your feed, and within seconds, your frequency has been calibrated to fear, then guilt, then anger. And by the time you've finished breakfast, your energetic field is already vibrating in the exact range. Most easily manipulated. Social media perfects this cycle. And here's where it gets even. more fascinating. Likes become dopamine. Comments become validation. Outrage becomes currency. Every platform is an algorithmic ecosystem, engineered to maximize one thing: emotional engagement. Not truth, not meaning, not connection, just engagement. And the fastest way to keep humans engaged? Keep them triggered. The system doesn't care whether you're left or right, woke or traditional, outraged or terrified, only that you stay in a low-frequency loop. Division isn't a flaw, it's a feature. This is not a metaphor. Emotional states are measurable frequencies. Fear, shame, and guilt operate at the lowest levels. Love, joy, and gratitude vibrate much higher. And entire industries profit from keeping the masses in the lower range. Advertising psychology has known this for decades. They sell you a solution by first making you feel like you're not enough. Not thin enough, not rich enough, not attractive enough, not safe enough. Every insecurity they activate is a frequency drop, and every product they offer is a false elevation, a temporary fix for a spiritual wound. And what happens when billions of people live in chronic states of low vibration? They become exhausted, distracted, divided, easily influenced. The perfect consumers, the perfect followers, the perfect pawns. Even education plays its role in the energy matrix. Children are taught to memorize, not to feel, to obey, not to question, to compete, not to connect. The school system rewards standardization and punishes intuition. Emotional intelligence is ignored. Energetic awareness is dismissed. And by the time a child becomes an adult, their energetic sovereignty has been replaced by programmed responses. Get a degree, get a job, buy the house, watch the news, pick a side, stay angry, stay scared, but never, ever, stop to ask, whose energy am I living in? Because here's the truth, they don't want you to see. If you don't know how your energy is being used, it's being used against you. The energy matrix is not a conspiracy theory. It's a system of influence, psychological, emotional, and vibrational, designed to keep the population locked in a reactive state. It doesn't need to convince you of anything. It only needs to keep you distracted, discouraged, and disconnected from your own power. Because the moment you reclaim your energy, the system weakens. What if every moment of anxiety you felt scrolling the news wasn't accidental, but engineered? What if the mental exhaustion you feel after hours online isn't just fatigue, but a loss of energetic coherence? What if your most negative thoughts aren't yours, but echoes of a frequency designed to keep you small? Energy control doesn't need to look like chains. It looks like headlines, ads, notifications, shame-based content, endless scrolling, emotional fatigue, and the slow erosion of presence. But once you see it, you can't unsee it, because even in this matrix, you still have a choice. You can learn to redirect your attention. You can become conscious of your emotional state. You can unplug from low-frequency inputs and surround yourself with resonance that uplifts rather than drains. You can start to ask questions about what you consume, about what you feel, about where your energy is going, and why. Because energy, like currency, is either spent or invested. And most people spend theirs without ever realizing what they're funding. But the moment you become aware, the moment you say no to the fear, the shame, the noise, something changes. You shift. And when you shift, your energy rises. Your clarity sharpens. The matrix loses its grip. The systems that manipulate energy can only operate in the shadows. They depend on your blindness, your silence, your unconscious agreement. The moment you see the structure, you're no longer inside it. You're above it. So ask yourself, what are you feeding with your focus? Because if everything is energy, and your attention fuels reality, then you are not a victim of the matrix. You are the battery. Unless you choose to become the architect, you can escape the media. You can leave the city. You can delete the apps. and turn off the noise. But what happens when the energy trap is no longer external, but internal? This is the real battlefield, because the most powerful form of control isn't what the world does to you. It's what your own mind does in response. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotional patterns. These are not random. They are frequencies, and they are often inherited, not chosen. Echoes from childhood, imprints from trauma, loops of self-doubt replayed so often they begin to feel like truth. The inner war is subtle. You're not fighting enemies with weapons. You're fighting invisible scripts. A voice in your head says, "You're not good enough." Another whispers, "You always mess things up." A third, quieter voice warns, "Don't try, you'll fail." These aren't facts, they're frequencies. And if you tune into them long enough, your entire life begins to vibrate at their level. Imagine your mind as an internal radio station. Every thought you think is a broadcast. Every belief you hold is a program. And the energy of your life, your relationships, your health, your choices tunes itself to the signal you're transmitting. Tune into scarcity, and you'll perceive lack everywhere. Tune into shame, and every compliment feels suspicious. Tune into fear, and even love starts to look like a threat. And here's the part most people miss. Your body is listening. Every thought generates a biological response. Fear tightens muscles. Anger floods you with cortisol. Joy releases dopamine and serotonin. These chemicals don't just influence mood, they affect posture, immune function, heart rate, and even cellular regeneration. What you think, you feel. What you feel, you become. What you become, you attract, and the loop continues. This is how self-sabotage is born, not from weakness, but from unhealed energy, from subconscious programs running without awareness, from trauma that was never acknowledged, and therefore never released. A child who grows up in chaos learns to fear stability. A person abandoned early in life learns to distrust connection. An individual criticized constantly learns to expect failure. These emotional wounds become energetic signatures, and the mind, in its attempt to stay safe, begins to recreate the conditions it knows best, even if those conditions are painful. It's not madness. It's pattern. But the beauty of energy is this: it can shift. Neuroscience now confirms what ancient mystics intuitively understood. The brain is plastic. Neural pathways are not fixed. You are not hardwired to suffer. The mind can be rewired, and so can the energy field it emits. This is the science behind the placebo effect, where belief in healing triggers real physical improvement, even when the treatment is fake. But there's also the nocebo effect, where belief in harm causes real damage, even if no threat exists. In both cases, the body follows the mind. Biology obeys perception. Energy mirrors belief. You are not thinking in isolation. You are programming a vibrational field. This is why affirmations work, not because of magical thinking, but because repetition changes circuitry. This is why meditation works, because silence is not the absence of energy, but the tuning of it. This is why gratitude changes lives, not because it's polite, but because it raises frequency. Your life doesn't reflect what you want. It reflects what you are energetically aligned with. That's why trying harder doesn't always work. You can chase success while vibrating at failure. You can seek love while resonating with abandonment. You can say the right words, but if the underlying frequency is rooted in fear, the result will be chaos. True change begins, not with effort, but with awareness. Start by observing your internal station. What are the most common thoughts you think when you wake up? How do you speak to yourself when you make a mistake? What feeling follows you into every room? These are not quirks. They are clues. And when you notice them, you reclaim choice. You can choose to shift, to challenge the thought, to question the belief, to pause the reaction. You can choose a different vibration, not once, but repeatedly, until it becomes your new baseline. The inner war is not about erasing the past. It's about freeing your energy from it. It's about becoming the conscious conductor of your frequency rather than the unconscious echo of your programming. Because here's the truth. The systems outside may try to influence your energy, but only you can decide what signal you send. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. And the moment you shift your inner frequency, everything begins to change. Your relationships, your health, your sense of purpose. Not because the world suddenly becomes easy, but because you've changed the lens through which the world is received. Your thoughts are not just personal, they're energetic. Your beliefs are not just opinions, they're frequencies. And your life is not just random, it's a vibrational mirror. If you can change your inner frequency, you can change your life. By now, you know the truth. Everything is energy. But knowing isn't enough. Awareness is only the first step. Transformation requires action. The world doesn't change just because you understand frequency. It changes when you master your own. This is where philosophy becomes practice, where theory becomes embodiment, where knowledge becomes power. This is the manual they never gave you. Energy mastery isn't magic, it's maintenance. Just like you brush your teeth, eat food, and sleep to care for your physical body, you must also learn how to tend to your energetic field. Because if you don't, the world will do it for you, and not in your favor. Let's begin with the most overlooked power source you have, your breath. 1. Breath work regulating the nervous system and energy flow. Breathing is the only bodily function that is both automatic and voluntary. That's not a coincidence. It's an invitation. Ancient traditions knew breath was more than survival. It was a key to energetic control. In Sanskrit, pranayama literally means the extension of life force through breath. In Chinese medicine, breath moves qi. Even modern neuroscience agrees. Controlled breathing influences the autonomic nervous system, which regulates everything from heart rate to digestion to emotional reactivity. When you breathe shallowly, as most people do when anxious, distracted, or sitting for long periods, your energy contracts. Your body enters a low-grade stress state. Cortisol rises. Your frequency drops. But when you breathe deeply and intentionally, everything shifts. Slow diaphragmatic breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest state. Blood pressure lowers. Muscles relax. Brain waves slow. Your internal frequency, REALIGNS. Start simple. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Do it for 5 minutes. No app, no candles, just breath. Consistency is the magic. 2. Meditation, rewiring thought patterns, and restoring coherence of breath is the door. Meditation is the path. The mind is like an untuned instrument. Left unchecked, it loops the same fears, stories, and judgments, all of which emit chaotic energy. Meditation doesn't erase thought. It creates space between the thought and the thinker. It allows you to observe the program, rather than be run by it. MRI scans show that regular meditation rewires neural pathways, increases gray matter in areas linked to self-awareness and emotional regulation, and reduces activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center. But beyond the brain, meditation restores coherence between the heart and mind. It creates internal harmony, aligning your frequency with stillness rather than survival. There are many methods. Don't chase perfection. Whether it's breath-focused, mantra-based, or simply sitting in silence, the goal is to come home to yourself. 3. Visualization. Programming your frequency with mental imagery. Your brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. That's not a flaw, it's a feature. Olympic athletes use visualization to improve performance. Surgeons visualize procedures to sharpen precision. Why? Because imagery activates the same neural circuits as the actual event. In energetic terms, thought is rehearsal for manifestation. When you visualize vividly and emotionally, you're not just daydreaming, you're shifting your energetic blueprint. But there's a catch. Visualization isn't about begging the universe. It's about aligning your frequency. The images you hold become the signals you send. If you visualize abundance while vibrating in scarcity, you create tension. If you visualize from a place of belief, you generate resonance, so see what you want. But more importantly, feel it. Feel the joy, the ease, the embodiment. That's the frequency shift. 4. Movement. Releasing stagnant energy through the body. The body stores what the mind forgets. Emotions, especially unprocessed ones, don't disappear. They embed. Trauma, grief, anxiety, they leave energetic residue. That's why you feel tightness in your chest when you're anxious, or knots in your stomach when you're afraid. Energy wants to move. If it gets trapped, it creates dysfunction, physically, emotionally, and energetically. This is why movement is essential, not just for fitness, but for flow. Practices like Qigong, Tai Chi, and yoga were never just exercise. They were energy disciplines. Every posture, breath, and motion was designed to circulate life force, clear stagnation, and harmonize internal rhythms. But you don't need a mat or studio. A simple walk, done mindfully, with attention to breath and sensation, can be a ritual of release. Dance, stretching, shaking, all move energy. The key is presence. Movement without awareness is just activity. Movement with awareness is medicine. 5. Environment tuning. Designing your energetic ecosystem. Udon. T live in a vacuum. Your surroundings speak to your nervous system constantly. Color, light, sound, geometry, all have frequencies, and those frequencies affect your field. You know this intuitively. A cluttered room creates mental fog. Harsh lighting causes irritation. A certain smell or song can transport you emotionally in seconds. Your environment is not neutral. It either supports your energy or drains it. Start observing what sounds are in your space. What colors dominate your walls? What objects hold emotional residue? What kind of light do you wake up to? Make subtle shifts. Remove what's heavy. Introduce what uplifts. Play frequency-based music, like 432 Hz or 528 Hz. Open windows. Add plants. Use lighting that supports circadian rhythms. Design your environment as if your frequency depends on it, because it does. 6. Attention control. Mastering the direction of energy. This may be the most important practice of all. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. It's not a cliche, it's the most fundamental law of energetic reality. Every second, you're choosing what to amplify. Every scroll, every thought spiral, every argument, all are energetic investments. Most people leak energy, not through trauma or tragedy, but through distraction. They give their focus to things that don't matter, don't serve them, and don't align with who they want to become. Attention is your most valuable currency, and in a world built to hijack it, reclaiming it is an act of revolution. Practice presence. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Have boundaries around media consumption. Learn to pause before reacting. Train your awareness like a muscle, because it is. Attention is the ultimate energetic act. Master it, and you master your life. These aren't rituals for the spiritually elite. They're tools for the energetically awake. They don't require belief, only practice, because energy mastery isn't about becoming something new. It's about remembering something ancient, something you've always known but were trained to forget. You are not just a body moving through the world. You are a field of frequency shaping it, and when you breathe with intention, sit with awareness, move with purpose, imagine with emotion, design your space, and guard your focus, you reclaim what was always yours, your energy, your power, your signal to the universe. You are not here to survive the world. You are here to shape it, and here's where it gets even more fascinating. Because the truth is, you are not a passive observer of reality. You are an active participant in its creation. Every thought you think, Every emotion you feel, every intention you set, is an act of energetic design. And this is what they never taught you. You are not just a body with energy. You are energy shaping your body, your mind, your relationships, and your reality. Once you understand this, everything changes. Relationships stop being transactions and become energetic exchanges. Work stops being a burden and becomes an expression of frequency. Health stops being just biology and becomes resonance between mind, body, and emotion. This is energetic sovereignty, the ability to consciously direct your internal frequency, regardless of external conditions. Not controlling everything around you, but regulating your response to it. Not reacting to the world's chaos, but generating your own signal with clarity and purpose. Most people live as victims of frequency, trapped in cycles they don't understand, responding to emotions that aren't theirs, absorbing the noise of the world like sponges without filters. They say I'm just tired, but don't question what energy they're absorbing. They say life is hard, but don't notice the frequency they're radiating. But a master of resonance sees differently. A master knows that reality doesn't begin outside, it begins within. That clarity isn't a luxury, it's an energetic alignment. That peace isn't something you wait for, it's something you generate. Even in the storm, energetic sovereignty is not a mystical ideal. It's a practical reality. Nelson Mandela, after 27 years in prison, emerged not bitter, but expansive. He became a global force for reconciliation, not because of the conditions he endured, but because of the energy he cultivated within them. He was imprisoned physically, but never energetically. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, wrote about his time in concentration camps. Amit, unimaginable horror. He discovered a profound truth. The last of human freedoms is to choose one's attitude, one's inner state, in any circumstance. Even when stripped of everything, he realized, the mind still holds the power to direct energy. These were not supernatural beings. They were humans who realized that the most powerful freedom is not found in the world, but in the field. In modern times, you can see this same mastery in those who walk through loss with grace, those who create beauty from pain, those who find meaning where others only see emptiness. They're not lucky. They're energetically aware. They live as conductors, not reactors. So what does this look like in everyday life? It means pausing before responding, because that pause is where your power lives. It means choosing gratitude when bitterness is easier, because gratitude raises frequency and bitterness binds it. It means seeing your home, your conversations, your morning routine, not as mundane tasks, but as rituals of alignment. Even brushing your teeth can be energetic, if done with presence. Even conflict can be vibrationally instructive, if you respond with awareness. Even failure can raise your frequency, if you choose to extract meaning instead of shame. Everything is an energy exchange. The food you eat, the people you interact with, the content you consume, the thoughts you allow, all influence your field. But the good news is, you're not helpless. You can curate, you can create, you can rise above. This is where real power begins, not in control, but in coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions align, your energy stabilizes. When your energy stabilizes, your reality reorganizes. And from that place, you no longer need to chase outcomes. You become magnetic to them. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. Not about avoiding pain, but integrating it. Not about never falling, but knowing how to recalibrate when you do. To live as a conscious energy being means to stop asking what's happening to me and start asking, what am I broadcasting into this moment? You're not here to react to the noise. You're here to become a tuning fork for something higher. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to begin noticing. Notice how you feel around certain people. Notice how your body responds to certain thoughts. Notice how different environments shift your internal state. Awareness is the first form of mastery. From there, you begin to choose, and choice is the beginning of freedom. You're not just here to survive the system. You're here to evolve beyond it, not by escaping the world, but by elevating your frequency within it. Because you're not just a body with energy, you are energy, shaping your body, your mind, and your world. And now, you get to decide what kind of world your energy creates. And here's where it gets even more fascinating.